Gotta get out of town every now and then. It's key. Reset your energy. Get calm. Go back into the city. Deal with all the craziness. Yeah, the Painted Hills. Central Oregon. Clearly mud flooded. I mean, the whole geological story of Oregon is based around volcanic lahars, which are mud floods. This is south of the Columbia River, so not Mount St. Helens area, but St. Helens is classical volcano story. When it erupts, it's cold, so it doesn't erupt lava, it erupts mud, lahars. Kind of interesting to be looking at this area a lot. Holy meltage! Flat thumbs. That's meltage for sure, mates. You gotta be fucking kidding me. That's a brick right there. Definitely red brick. Meltage. It's weird, you know, looking at these big pointy hills. The explanation that they have of the iron in the soil because of the type of tree just really, it doesn't add up, man. There's something weird about this whole place. When you look at those ancient maps, it all starts to come together a little bit more in your mind, but there's something very red bricky about this whole situation. Of course, you're not supposed to leave the trail, so you can't go digging in it. There's one across the river from the campground. They got a little fence around it, so can't just walk up to it unless you want to trespass. Yeah, this is all ranch land. It's not far away from the Malheur National Wildlife Refuge where all that crazy shit went down a couple years ago. But yeah, man, all the stories.
Does that look like a diamondback?
I'm not sure.
Whoa.
Whew. Look at this. Look at this preciousness. Aww. There's more than one in there. Just saw a little head poking out her wing. Beep, 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 beep. These clovers are freaking cool looking. Yeah. Now that's a shape we've been talking about a little bit. Pretty cool to read about what the benefits of clovers can be in the body. Pretty fascinating. Difference between the red and the white clover effects. Apparently you want to be careful. Some powerful stuff. This is amazing. We got little baby chicks in the chicken coop when we got back from our trip out to the desert. It's so precious just seeing this little tiny baby sitting in the doorway trying to get some sun. We got a good setup in the house now for him. Getting like one a day at this point. But this morning was weird. We had one hatch prematurely and it was all messed up and its guts were coming out of its rear, and That sort of put a damper on the vibe a little bit, but it's the circle of life, you know? So I've always liked old architecture, but a couple of years ago, I was studying old architecture and art and kind of where they intersect. And I did a big study and deep dive on Notre Dame Cathedral, and that was fascinating. Need to talk more about that, but basically in the 1800s they refurbished that place and it was completely wrecked when they got started. And a lot of the gargoyles and chimeras, little sculptures, little demon sculptures all over that building were designed, made, and installed in the 1800s. So the building as we know it, the facade as it's called, as we know it, really isn't the accurate, old world, antiquitech design. It's a very modern one, and it's very much based on like ideas of phrenology and racism and weird shit. So something to think about. I actually got to go and see the place a couple of years ago before it burned down, so that was pretty cool. I'm very curious to see how it gets reconstructed, but I have thoughts about it. Anyway, in all my explorations of all this old architecture, I was drawn to columns, as people really tend to be. And I saw the different designs for like the capstone pieces or the crowns of the columns. And I thought, oh, that's interesting, a few different styles to choose from there. What style do I like most? Which one speaks to me the most? Which one do I appreciate the most? And I arrived at the Ionian, or the Ionic column style as my favorite. And ever since then, it just keeps popping up in the weirdest places. It's like a little code. I want to show you something about that. Here's a little Ionic column that I found at a thrift shop. A little bit of my silver stack on top of it. But yeah, I picked this up last year and was just looking at it and enjoying it and thinking, man, I've always wondered, I've been fascinated with this symbol. Like, what is this? What does it mean? Like, what's the significance? Like, I got the swirls and I understand the swirls as they relate to concepts of electricity and like the ether and magnetism and stuff, but what is this? Well, then it just so happened to be sitting in my lap upside down, and I looked down at it and I went, aha, there it is. Look at that. You got a little row of houses, got a row of like some lights or something, a beam between the two swirls going across above the houses. It sort of seems to imply electricity or light or energy. But we're always used to seeing this upside down. So what does that mean? Why is it upside down? Was it supposed to be this way? And we just got it wrong somewhere in history in reassembling some of these old sites? Or is that actually kind of a depiction of an idea about cosmology and the skies and energy and sky people, and like maybe that's the stars and we're down here and these star people are upside down above us, and so when we're looking up at them, we're actually also simultaneously looking down on them, and while they're looking up at us, they're simultaneously looking down on us. Trippy, huh? It's kind of a fun idea. It's kind of a fun way to look at the sky at night, which I did just get to do some of that out in the desert over the last few days, and that was incredible. Just getting to really stare deeply into the stars for hours. Been wanting to do that for a good while now. It had been a long time since I'd had that opportunity. And yeah, these ionic columns, man, they're very, very strange and sort of stand out from the rest of the column toppers in design. They seem very distinctly different. And yeah, so, you know, I'd been kind of contemplating that and having fun with that, and then of course stumbled onto a bunch of this Tartaria stuff and was like, oh, interesting. I have some ideas about that. Well then, just a couple weeks ago, I bought this 2-ounce, I bought this 2-ounce silver round. Anyway, it has a giant kraken taking down a sailing ship, and then on the back, it's really small. It has a little iteration of an ionic style column, and it's minted by the Intaglio mint. The shape is a little bit different on the column style, but still consistent with the thought. And I mean, look at that, you get them swirls, you know, the golden ratio swirls coming out. Look at that puppy, it's thick. That's a fun one. I like that round. So yeah, it's just, I keep getting this little tidbit coming my way and informing my thoughts about all this energy stuff, field theory, electrical theory, Tartaria, ancient tech. You know, I started all this years ago by being a pretty hardcore armchair Egyptologist, you know, and I grew up on Tesla's story. So I'd always been curious about that idea that, like, supposedly he figured out what he knew about electricity because he claimed to have figured out and understood Egypt and what it was all about. So I've just been looking for clues, little clues all throughout antiquity that show knowledge, deep understanding of electromagnetism and that sort of stuff, and I have a bunch of other hieroglyphs and symbols to try to break down and explain a little bit how they informed my perception, but I'll get there. Just gotta keep busting out this book.